I recently watched a live stream from a creator named Tectone, who had a few other content creators on to talk about controversial anime subjects. And there was one topic in particular I formed an opinion on when it came to the explicit graphic scenes in the first episode of Goblin Slayer, which included, let's say, the word grape. And the question that arose was it necessary for that to be in there? Where Tectone makes an example for an anime like Berserk, it is, but for Goblin Slayer, there was pushback saying that it wasn't from what it seems another streamer named Dantes.
And so when I see characters like Guts, who that happened to him when he was a child, I know it sucks to see, but showing that characters can continue to live their life and grow out of such horrific things happening to them, I do think it is important for very horrible things to happen to good characters.
Hey, what about Goblin Slayer though, bro? That's just like kind of gratuitous, right?
And my viewpoint is that it was necessary. Now, as I give my perspective, this is not a personal attack, bad faith criticism, I hate you, how dare you have this viewpoint type of video. I'm actually not familiar with anyone in the stream except for Chibi Reviews and Nux. Stay strong, Chibi, glad the crowdfunding is going well. And Nux, the Hassan series is hilarious. So like I said, this is not a hit piece kind of response. I actually enjoyed the stream and the one before. It was really entertaining and just fun to watch a bunch of creators who like anime just talk anime and just joke and laugh. Now, the argument being made is that when going into Goblin Slayer, the graphic scenes catch you off guard. It's unexpected. You think you're about to watch a more tamed anime.
And you think it's like a fighting anime. They're like casting spells, and then a goblin, grabs one of the chicks, they capture the other chick, and then instead of fighting like they do in a normal shonen, which is what I thought it was, like viciously.
Which was me as well when I saw certain scenes. I thought, holy shit, this got real quick.
Mad real.
Like a red wedding type scene where I only need to see it once because it's kind of hard to get through. And that if the story is just throwing it in there just to do it, then it's what I think Dantes was alluding to, though I could be wrong, but that it's immoral because what if people perceive it a certain way, like it's sexualizing the nature of this grotesque scene, convincing the viewer this act is okay.
And then when you see an anime like Goblin, say you don't know what it's about, and then they can have shit like that happens, especially when, it's just like, what the fuck, it's like, you could be making people think that shit like that is okay if, they, God forbid, they fucking like what they're seeing, So the problem is that I feel like just having it present to be present is just horrible, Whereas in an anime like, let's say, Berserk, having it as an actual thing for the plot that shows, like, all these different things, like, it adds to the story,
Now, before I give why it is necessary, first, these reasons brought up are not valid in my opinion. How one viewer perceives the necessity of one scene versus another should not dictate how a story is told. Everything on screen is always the intention of the creator and has purpose whether we realize it or not or agree with it or not. If that was the case, soccer moms would have destroyed all of entertainment a long time ago because they're always offended, claiming damn near anything of mature content and entertainment is unnecessary. And anime and manga would have died overnight from how the United Nations views it, constantly trying to censor it. Now, here's my reason on why it is necessary. Goblin Slayer has a hatred, realistic, merciless view on goblins, and us as the viewer need to understand that perspective of his as we watch him throughout this story. Where we might have the viewpoint, does he need to kill every one of them, even the children though? They could be future allies. But when we see his traumatized past, spoiler alert, from seeing his own sister, Great, treated like a plaything, then eventually killed by the goblins, just even the thought of hearing it is a hard pill to swallow. But we need to see it to understand that even the goblin children he does away with deserve no mercy, only death. He sees goblins for what they are, the representation of the worst aspects of humanity, pure evil. This ain't like the goblins in Re-Monster, where you have some female ones due to evolution. They look alright, bunch of baddies. You might want to start a whole harem with them, but they're not like that at all. As he explains to his girl companion that if you allow even the least bit of sympathy, that naivete will be used against you, leading to your own death. And if you are a woman, even worse for reasons showed in this episode. The facial tormented expressions, the screams of agony, the goblins taking pleasure in bringing immense pain to humans. This isn't just war to them, this is ecstasy. They get off on seeing you tortured, and Goblin Slayer seems to be the only one who takes the threat of goblins seriously. And everyone else in the guild has a dismissive, nonchalant view on them. They're sort of like us as the viewers not taking this anime too serious at first. But as we dive into this story, just as they dive into that cave,
don't let me leave, Murph. No!
We realize when shit hits the fan, damn, this ain't no joke. This shit is real. We now share Goblin Slayer's perspective.
I will say when you really think about it, it really did make me hate those goblins.
And I think the author did a very good job with doing that. We're now like him, where we don't see them as redeemable creatures, where before we were like the characters in the beginning, naive, thinking goblins are just like a rank above slimes, easily dealt with. But as Goblin Slayer constantly repeats, listen, they're not bright creatures, but they aren't complete fools. So that's why I think it is necessary. Now, another thing I wanted to get into was Dante's view on how accessible shows like these should be to watch. That they should be heavily filtered because kids can easily access this despite the age rating.
The thing is that even if you have the mature warning, there are people that just aren't going to respect it, you know? I don't think having a mature warning is anywhere near enough what you actually need. Honestly, animes like Goblin Slayer I don't think should be allowed on any mainstream anime sites. Like, if there are somewhere...
Where I agree with Chibi on this, on that it's only so much you can do as the distributor before you make the product completely hidden where no one can watch it at all.
So I just, I pulled up Goblin Slayer on Crunchyroll. On the, literally when you start the first few seconds, it says, this program contains content that may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. If you scroll down under the episode, it literally shows 18 plus on it. But there is a fair enough warning to warn people that there is going to be shocking content.
Because it's behind so many barriers to entry.
So putting something, right, where it's like you have to verify an ID, and then you have to send like the forward and the back and like show that you're them with the AI, like face recognition, that's something that they already do on other sites. So having that to access an actual 18 plus section on these anime websites, I think would actually be like something that's almost necessary.
So what you're saying is, but you just want more security in order to access it, to reduce the amount of people who might be underage who you don't want exposed to these storytelling mediums.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you.
Where it becomes like Mission Impossible, trying to break through 100 barriers and decode and decipher 100 pieces of code just to watch the damn thing. And my view is that it can get to a point where the distributor can only do so much where we don't hold the parents accountable. Yes, a lot of parents rely on technology to raise their kids, but that's not the fault of the technology, but the fault of bad parenting.
Yeah, I think that's a bad parenting issue, honestly.
I agree. It's bad parenting.
Okay.
And I think this mentality of never being self-accountable and constantly placing blame somewhere else has led to so many problems as is. For example, there's widespread occurrences of Kias getting broken into, and in response, I think Portland, sued Kia, the dealership, for making their cars able to be broken into.
What kind of shit is that?
So as a response, we punish the product for being stolen, but not the criminals committing the theft. That's the lack of self-accountability I'm referring to. It's only so much you can do beyond the rated M for mature or 18 plus, the disclaimer before the episode letting you know what to expect. There's always going to be a genius somewhere that can find loopholes or avenues to access content no matter how many walls are placed before it. And I think the other members of the panel bring up a good point of examples like Game of Thrones being behind a paywall of HBO, or Max, whatever you want to call it nowadays, and meaning warnings that this is not for children, but people below the age of 18 will find a way. And Dantes basically says it's different because anime are seen as kid cartoons, but
anime looks like a cartoon, right? So imagine you're a parent and your kid tells you, I saw watching anime, right? And he's watching things like Attack on Titan. He's watching things like, I don't know, My Hero Academia. It's like, that's a way where, okay, our kid's watching that, it's good. And at the end of the day, as a parent, you're not going to know everything your child's consuming. Now imagine one day he hears about something Goblin Slayer, opens it up, starts watching it. The parents, all they know about it is that's animated. So if it's animated and they're watching all these other things before, then, oh, it should be fine. I think having an ID verification 100% for stuff like that is important.
I think that speaks to a whole larger point that in the West we have a misconception that anime are just kid cartoons, just like they had the Crunchyroll, thinking the same, but that leads to a whole nother video separate from this one, and I don't want to dive into that for this one. But my point is, just because a scene in an anime is grotesque and brutal doesn't mean it's not necessary and should be punished by damn near making it unseeable. Because someone below 18 might access it somehow, or because one might perceive the scene as inappropriate, so let's censor the hell out of it because it exceeded our expectations for what type of story this was going to be. That mentality, if applied widespread, would be the reason so many great movies and stories would never be made and be non-existent. I used this example already, but Tarantino, outside of his fans, he gets criticized a lot for the amount of violence and blood splatter his films have, saying it's unnecessary, over the top, with his own sanity being questioned.
Why the need for so much gruesome, graphic violence? Why not let us imagine
because
a little
it's so
of it?
much fun, Jan.
Really?
Get it?
Oh, really? Okay, I'd like to see you walk down the street and get attacked by some kids who've just seen your movie.
But see, Jan, you're all messed up because you're talking about real life.
Oh,
and
I
I'm
see.
talking
And kids
about
at
the
12,
movies. You got to
kids
get
at
it
12.
straight. Now, if you want to talk about the movies, we'll talk about the movies.
Okay, and
If you
kids
want to
at
talk
12
about real life,
can tell
we'll
the
talk about real
difference.
life.
And I know some
I'm
parents
having
would
a
love
great
to talk
time
to
making
you.
a terrific movie that people are having fun seeing. Maybe not you, but you know what, Jan? I don't think I made it for you.
I bet you didn't, and I'm glad you didn't. I'm just sorry.
Well, don't worry about that, baby.
We'll move on.
Or that in Django Unchained, he used the N-word too many times, even though it takes place in a time where slave owners would refer to black people as such. So that makes sense for the dialogue, despite how someone may feel or be offended viewing it as over the top or extremely vulgar. But one viewer's perception shouldn't outweigh another's on how necessary or unnecessary something is. But that's all I have for this video. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. Again, this video isn't something that's done with malice or hatred. Please don't take it that way. I'm just giving my viewpoint on this topic I found very interesting, adding to the conversation. As I said, both live streams were really entertaining, with every creator contributing to just really a fun and good time, and you know, shit like that I just love to see, so good shit. If you haven't already, check out my music on Spotify, link in the description. If you love those Samurai Champloo lo-fi Mela boom bap vibes, then my music is definitely for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Free think, peace.